Good morning, I'm Brad Phillips. I'm here with Puppy Steps Training, and we're going to be doing Sammy and Kona's demos this morning. So this is going to be a little bit different than other demos that you might have seen or other ones that I've recorded, being that you are having two puppies. Now I hope you're prepared for that. Two puppies can be a little bit hectic at times. Both of them are really great dogs. They do a great job. I would recommend that as you get them home that you spend time with them individually. Make sure that you secure that bond with each of them and that they don't just bond to each other. Also, I'd spend time working with them individually. They do phenomenally by themselves, and when you get them together sometimes they can get a little bit too competitive, but they still do a good job together, and I'm going to show you a lot of the demonstration together, but I will also show you parts of it with just one at a time. Like I said, both of them do great. They both are really good dogs. I hope you're excited to get them. I know I'm excited to see how they do. So just a couple things before we get started into the bulk of our program. Things that I like to tell everyone, whether they're first-time dog owners or this is the first time owning a dog. Now, they both are still puppies, and so with that, there is going to be some growing, some maturing. You got to make sure that you are patient with them, but also you are consistent in rewarding them as well as correcting them. Now, with rewarding them, our marker and our release word is okay, and so we've taught them that basically anytime that you release them or use that okay word, that a reward is coming after. And as for rewards, we use toys, we use food, and we use compassion. Kona is very driven by toys, where Sammy is a lot more food motivated. Kona is still very food motivated, and that's going to be the secret to really keeping up with that consistency, or keeping up with their training, is using food. That is a very high motivation. As for our correction, we use no or nope, and I treat the correction somewhat as like a misdemeanor felony. If they do something wrong, regardless of what the behavior is, they are going to get corrected. Now, the severity of the correction depends on the behavior. So if they did something simple like broke a stake, I would tell them no, and I'd take them back to the same spot, and I'd have them do it again. It's important that you always end on a correct behavior regardless of what the command that you're doing. But on the other hand, if they did something more serious, like they jumped up on me or tried to steal food out of my hand, I'm going to give them a lot more of a firm correction, and I do that by adjusting my voice fluctuation and my body language, trying to deliver more of a commanding, more of a firm no. We do have one type of physical correction, and that is a leash correction. And I use that at 3 different times, which I will discuss those throughout the video. But all that is 2 pops on the leash. You're not trying to yank them backwards or trying to inflict harm at all. Really, all you're doing is making a presence known, trying to get their attention back on you, and then you can accompany them with no, or there are some different words that we'll use, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. And like I said, they really are good dogs. Be patient as the transition kind of fills out. And that's going to be the next 2 to 4 weeks. You can guarantee that they're going to be transitioning into your home, and so there is going to be some stress. That stress often causes them to have to go to the bathroom more frequently. It can cause loose stools, as well as they're not going to be up to the same standard as they are right now. They need to develop a leadership role with you, and so during this transition, I would expect the manners, which I'll cover in detail, but as for the commands, I would use them, but don't expect this really high standard, the same length of stays that I'm getting. I would try and keep it real simple, and I probably wouldn't be using the commands a lot, at least for a couple days. Focus more on making sure that you develop that bond with them. And once again, when you do work with them, I would work with them individually with commands as well as together. Make sure that they are going to obey you, both by themselves as well as together. So now we're going to jump into the bulk of the program. We'll talk about socialization just for a second, and then I'll get them out, and we'll talk about our manners and our commands, and then we'll switch it around, and I'll talk about the crate training and the house training and the leash training. So the socialization is the most important thing to me. What that is as soon as we got them, we started to expose them to different animals, different people, sounds, places, textures, just as many new situations as we could. But we do that in a controlled environment, and that way I can ease into into the new situation and be able to help them feel comfortable. That way I can prevent any serious timidness or aggression or anxiety, and we can make sure that they are going to be well-rounded and they're still going to behave in uncomfortable situations. We also continue that throughout the program, making sure that we do commands in different places with different distractions, as well as on different surfaces, making sure that we can help your dog be a well-rounded dog and not be uncomfortable or show any serious behaviors when it comes to an uncomfortable situation. And so with that, now we are going to move into our manners portion. And so I'm going to let them out. The manners, I am going to do most of it together. And so I will let them out. And the first manner is our gates and our doorways. So anytime they come out of the crate, we go through the house door, or we go through a gate in the yard, I expect them to hold a stay. Now it should be an automatic behavior. However, being puppies, they still have some maturing to do. If they were to break, I might simply close the door, might simply lift up my leg and block them. It wouldn't be until they were really persistent on pushing their way out that I would actually tell them to stay. And so I'm going to let them out now. Okay, good puppies, good girl, huh? Now, I will show you the house door when we go outside. Some of that stuff I will do one at a time, just so I can show you that more effectively. But the next manner I'm looking for is what Kona is doing right here. It is the greeting. Before I give them any attention, I expect them to sit. And so where Kona is sitting, I'll go down and pet her, and then Sammy sits down, so we'll give them attention. Good pups, good pups. Now the reason for that, one, it gets them to refrain from jumping, gets them planted. The most important thing though it does is get their eye contact. You know that once you make that eye contact that they're focused on you. That way you can then give them attention, or you can give them a further command and know that they are focused on you. Good puppies. Now I am going to grab a leash for each of them. I do like to have them drag a leash around. That way, if I do need to quickly get a hold of them, I can. Good. Off. Now, the next manner we'll talk about is their mealtime manners. And so they haven't been fed yet this morning, and so they are very driven by food. And so this is one of those situations where competition may cause them to break, and so it's a great one to really work on. So I'm going to ask them to stay. No. Okay. Now, they are labs, and so they love their food, they inhale it. I do want to make sure that there's no aggression involved, and so sometimes I do like to stick my hands in their food bowl. I'll usually do it when they're apart, when I feed them one at a time, as well as sometimes just throwing some food down in their bowl. Makes it so it's a little bit more positive with me being around. I would recommend probably feeding them one at a time. So I'm going to keep them separate so it's not running around. Good. So now, I just fed them about half their meal, and I'm going to put one of them away. Kona, great. Good. Nope. So I'm going to show you the meal time again, just a little bit of food. I'm going to put him over here and ask him to sit. No. Stay. When you do it one at a time, there's a little bit less competition, and so you can really increase those stays. And so when I do that, I add what are called the 3 Ds, and that's distance, duration, distraction. And so I can add the distance between me and him, the food bowl, of course increasing and decreasing time, and adding new distractions. Oh, Okay, good boy. As well as he'll be just a little bit calmer with me handling him, and you can ensure that there's no food aggression there. Good boy, good boy. Now I'll show you the same thing with Kona. Okay, I'll grab just a little bit more food. Sit. Stay. And once again, adding those 3Ds. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Oh, good girl. Good girl. Now, along with making sure that there's no food aggression, we like to make sure that there's no aggression at all. Hey, Sammy. Shh. And so I do like to make a point of handling them, making sure that I handle ears, paws, tails. I just want to make sure that there's no aggression. As well as when they have toys or chews, I want to make sure that there's not going to be any aggression. Okay. Neither of these dogs have shown any aggression that I've seen. The closest thing that sometimes you'll see is them kind of protecting what's theirs. If one of them has a bully stick, which I wouldn't suggest doing, just giving one of them and having them together. But if one of them, they will growl or get after each other a little bit, just protecting what's theirs, which that's just all dogs. They want to protect what's theirs. But one time that sometimes aggression is mistaken is with kids. Kids are like the greatest thing to a dog. They run, they squeal, they make things a lot of fun, and so your dog just wants to play along, and they end up running over a kid or grabbing a pant leg. And so I make a rule that if my dog is out with kids or kids are playing with them, that they have a toy. That way it gives something for them to go after. They're not going to grab onto the kid, they're going to more so be interested in the toy. Or if the children get a little bit nervous, your dog's getting too close, they can throw the toy and that way divert the dog's attention, get them away from them. So now just a couple of the other manners that we're going to talk about. These next two are going to be really important for you to make sure that you establish very quickly. So the first one is jumping. Now we spend a lot of time working on jumping, especially when you have two puppies competing against each other. Jumping is one of those behaviors that's really going to show itself. And so we've taught them the command off, which you saw me use earlier when Kona went to grab a toy off of here. That command off is used for whether they will try and jump up on me or whether they try and jump up on the crate or onto the couch, anywhere that you don't want them to. That is one time, if I were to have the leash and they tried to jump on someone, I would use that leash correction and I would accompany it with the command off. Now, a couple things just to talk about jumping. It's important that if your dog's going to jump, that you never step backwards. As soon as you step backwards, you're encouraging that jump. Instead, I'm always going to step into the jump. That way I'm restricting the space. A lot of time you're going to throw off their timing. But then if they were to jump, I'm going to bring my knee up, and you want to catch them right there in the chest and block them. If you do end up flipping your dog onto their back, that's the same way that an alpha will put its subordinates back into place if someone were to challenge him. And so it's really showing that leadership. If I have a really, really jumpy dog, I'll put them onto their back once and they won't ever jump on me again. It just really quickly establishes that leadership. But remember the command off. And so if they find someone in your family that they just think that maybe they're above them in the family order, that's going to be the person that they try and jump on. What I'll do is I'll take them by the leash and I'll have that person call them to them. And I'll walk them up, and as soon as they try and jump, I'll give them that leash correction, tell them off, turn around and walk the other way. I'll do that 3 or 4 times, or as many times as it takes for them just to approach and then sit at their feet. Once they do sit down, you give them lots of love. That's very positive because they just presented that greeting, and that is the appropriate behavior. But they have done great, just remember that. And that is going to be one of those manners you do have to establish. As soon as you just let them jump all over you, then you're taking a few steps backwards and you're going to have to really try and correct that behavior. Okay. So the next behavior is chewing. And chewing has to happen. These guys are in the middle of teething, and so they just have to chew. And because of that, we train on a base of avoiding and replacing. If you can avoid giving them free access to toys, to shoes, to anything that you don't want chewed up, of course that's just the best way to prevent something from happening. But it's not really possible in your home. There's always something that they have access to that they can chew on. And so that's where replacing comes in. Sammy. Huh. And so what I'll do there is if I see them go up and they start chewing on maybe a soft bed or a pillow, I'll give them something soft. I'll replace it. I'll tell them no, and then give them something soft to chew on. Whereas if they start chewing on something hard, like a table leg, I'll give them something like a bully stick to chew on. Once again, telling them no, replacing. If they start chewing on a leash or shoelaces, give them a rope. Just try and match the texture because they're chewing based on what their mouth needs. Now the biggest part of chewing is boredom. Boredom is just the cause of all disasters. But there is two parts of boredom. One is, maybe you have a downtime. You're reading a book, watching a show, and your dog's just going to be laying on their bed. At that point, I will give them something to chew on. I'll give them something like a bully stick. That way, it keeps them occupied. They're not just going to get up and find something on their own to chew on. But that also brings up the second part of chewing, is if they get bored with their own things. And so if they were laying on their bed, chewing on a bully stick, or even a toy, and they got up and left it, I would immediately go and take it away. That way they don't have free access to their own things. Because if they do have free access, if they always have access to their toy, they're going to get bored with it, and they want something new and exciting to chew on, so they'll go find something different. And so that's why I immediately take it away. That way I preserve some of the excitement with that object, and they're not going to get bored with it. As well as then you can rotate items so they're not getting bored with one toy. Good boy, good boy. Other manners, the next two actually deal with their mouth, and these are going to be really important for you because labs often have a pretty hard mouth. You really have to establish that they need to be soft. And so a lot of times if they're together, I'm always going to use the command gently, just getting them cautious about their mouth. As well as there's a couple things that you can do to really manage the chewing. One, it's important that you always give them the treat in the palm of your hand. That way they're not going to bite you because they can't get over your fist if you close it or things like that. If you give it to them between your thumb and forefinger, you are just asking them to come over your fingers and bite you. Instead, in the palm of my hand, I like to keep my fist closed with a real mouthy dog. And that way they can't just bite my fist. Instead, they're going to be trying to lick it. I'll tell them gently, and then I can present the treat, and they're going to be really cautious with their mouth. And if they're running towards you and you're going to present them a treat, I like to really get them focused on them gently, gently, gently. And if you can try and avoid having them both go after the same treat, that's always a big help too. But when they are by themselves, it's a lot easier to manage that. But that's one that I would really focus on. Make sure that you keep your fist closed. They can't have access to it until you're ready. That way they're not going to try and grab the food out of your hand real quick before the other one can get it. The next one, which I'm going to put one of them away to show you. We'll do this one at a time. Come here. There you go. Great. Would be drop it. This is the next one. And so drop it, I expect him to physically release the object. Oh, you gotta hold on to it though. No, knew it was coming. So I'm just gonna take it and drop it. Good boy, good boy. I expect him to open his mouth. If he had something that he didn't want to give me, which I'll show you with this bully stick, what I'm going to do is if it's long enough, I'll take it on both sides and I'll hold it really still and ask him to drop it. If he doesn't give it up, I'll just turn my knuckles in. You're just going to pinch his lips against his canines a little bit. Should give it right up. But if he didn't, there's another thing you can do. which I'll just stick my finger right underneath and push down on his tongue. If you can push down on their tongue, it's like a button that just opens their mouth. Gently, gently. There you go, good boy. But for the most part, they do really well with that, and I'll just ask him, drop it. Good boy. And I expect him to open his mouth and let me take it. I don't want to have to hold the object because, especially puppies with those sharp puppy teeth, they get caught in things and you can end up pulling out a tooth and injuring your dog. Sammy, crate. Crate. Good boy. Now I can show you the same thing with Kona. Okay, good girl. She loves our toy. She's our toy dog for sure. Hey. Good girl. But same thing, I expect her to let me take it. Okay. Drop it. Good girl, good girl. So you can see she just gets real excited over toys. A lot more excited over toys than Sammy. Sammy still loves his toys, but she loves it. Now you can play tug with them. That is a fine game, but they have to understand that you are always going to win. And so if I ask her to drop it, I expect her to give it up. Nope, drop it. Off. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. But both of these being labs need a lot of exercise in it. They actually haven't had a walk yet this morning. That's why they do have so much energy kind of burned or built up. And so it is important that you get out, walk them daily, and get out and play. They said they love their toys. Drop it. No, drop it. Good girl. Good girl. But you can just see how much contrived she has with their toys. My bad. But with that, we will move into our commands, and those I will do individually. So I am going to start with Kona. I'll tell you about each of the commands, and then I'll pull Sammy out and I'll just do them. I won't repeat myself on it. But the first command that we're going to talk about is one that goes back to the greeting, getting eye contact. And so I'll just ask her, watch me. Okay, good girl. And so all I'm looking for is her to make eye contact with me. Watch me. Okay, good girl. Good girl. And so the reason for that is, like I mentioned with the greeting, if you can get their eye contact, you have 100% of their attention. And so if you need them just to stop and look at you, or gonna give them another command you don't think they're paying attention, that's an easy one just to get their attention real quick. And that's a command that I keep really positive. And it's a great one that you can practice just to get them used to the way that you were working. You can tap, distract them. I can even put a treat over here. Watch me. Okay, good girl. And just expect them to make eye contact with you. And practice that a lot because it can come in real handy. Like if you're cooking, you drop something on the floor you don't want them to get, ask them to look up. Or if they're just on a dead run running into traffic, you just need them to stop. Ask them to look up at you. I also teach them their name the same way, and I use their name a lot when I call them to come, which come is our next command. And it's going to be hard to really show you in here, but I'll try and get her away from me. Very basic command, right? I do use their name to get their attention. And Kona, come! Good girl, Jimmy. Good girl. Just expecting them to come to me. Now, that command is one that is often burned. And when I say that, I just mean that they build up a negative association with the word, and so they no longer want to come to you. Instead, they would rather turn and run the opposite direction. And the reason that is when people ask them to use, or they use the command, they ask them to come, when basically they know they're not going to follow through. They found something that they just think is awesome. They're chasing a rabbit. They're smelling something that's just really good, and you ask them to come, and they're like, well, why do I want to come when I found something that I like? And so the way that you prevent that from happening, one is by keeping that command super, super positive. You never punish your dog if you ask them to come and they come to you, even if it takes, you asking a handful of times. But what I'll do is, you have a fenced-in backyard, they're running around playing, take a handful of treats, go out there, call them to come, give them a treat, let them go again. Do that 9 or 10 times. for that one time you call them to come and you go inside. That way, they're coming to you, they're getting a reward, and they're getting to go back and do whatever they found was really enjoyable, whether it's running around or sniffing. But yeah, keep that rule of like 10 to 1. The other way that you preserve it is don't overuse it. And the reason that I bring that up is because a lot of people, even in their house, the dog can be like 3 feet away and you call him to you. Instead, I would do something like, come here. Good girl, and just keep it really positive. Oh, Kona, good girl. But I do like to use their name. I'll say, Kona, come, and I expect them to come to you. And I'll show you that again with Sammy here in a minute. So the next couple commands do have hand signals. And so first is sit, which sit is just a scoop over the nose. Just that simple motion right there. Helps you remember, when we first got them, we'd take their food bowl, lure it up over their nose. As soon as their hind end went down, we'd mark it. So sit. And down is just taking my hand flat and going to the ground, and then stay as a stop sign. And so I'll show you each of those. We'll get her up on the bed. Sit, down, stay. Now when I ask her to do a down stay, I want to make sure that both elbows hit the ground, she's not hovering. As well as if she's in a down stay, she's never allowed to come up. Whereas if I do a sit stay, I don't care if she lays down. Okay, good girl. Gently, good girl. Now I'll show you your sit stay. Sit, stay. Now with these commands, I should only have to ask them once. I don't want to sit there and repeat myself. Instead, I'll give them the command once and allow them to really process it, think about it before I repeat it again. Okay, good girl. And they should do those on different types of surfaces. I mean, I did her down stay on a bed. She'll do that on the hardwood floor, as well as, wherever you ask her. But once again, sit and down. Good girl. Okay, good girl. Now the next two commands are very similar. I use my body language to allow her to read what I want. So they're not necessarily a hand signal, but I always put myself in a position where she can read my body language. And so for instance, I'll tell her, go to bed. I'll step and point. I don't care what position she's in, as long as all 4 paws are on the bed, and she is expected to stay until released. Now all of her stays are 20-30 seconds by herself. Together, when I do the commands together, they are quite a bit shorter. Okay, and just like that one, the crate command, and so I'll ask her, crate. And she hesitates, and I'm just going to allow her to think about it for a second. Okay, good girl, and I'll reward her when she goes in. And then she is expected to stay. Okay, now that's a lot like the come command. I would keep a positive repetition going in and out of the crate. Don't just use it when you are going to lock them up into the crate. Okay, otherwise they'll get to the point where they don't want to go in because they think you're just going to lock them up. Good girl, good girl. Which I am at this point. Now I will run through all those commands with Sammy. Okay, good boy. And so we'll start back at the beginning. Get his attention directed elsewhere. Watch me. Okay, good boy. And just look for that eye contact. Watch me. Okay, good boy. Now we'll try and move him away. I should show you these outside, just so we can get some space between us. But, Sammy, come! Good boy. Just expecting him to come to you. Now I didn't mention with the come, I'm not going to wait for him to sit when he comes to me because I just want to reward that action real quick. And that's him coming to me. Now the sit and the down stays. It's okay. Sit. Down. Stay. Waiting for those elbows to hit the floor. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Come here. No. Come here. Sit. Stay. Okay, good boy. Boy. Go to bed. Good boy. Okay, good boy. Crate. Good boy. Okay. Crate. Good boy. Okay. Now I'll show you the madness with a few of those commands. Particularly, we'll do the stays. The other ones, I mean, you've kind of seen me do individually, but go to bed. I'll show you a few of those. Okay, good. Down. Stay. No. Kona. Down. Sit. Down. Stay. No. Down. Stay. Okay. Sit. Stay. So I encourage you to work with them individually as well as together. They both do great, but they both are puppies, and so the competition gets to them, and things are a lot shorter together. Now, we'll talk about the crate training just for a second. Then I'm actually going to flip the camera around to face the door, and we'll talk about the house training. So the crate training, we spent a lot of time making sure that they're comfortable in the crate, and that they don't have any accidents. So right now, we've had them sleep together in the same crate as well as we've had them sleep in different crates. And so they're good with both, so whichever you prefer. They are sleeping through the night. We put them to bed about 10 o'clock at night and then get them out between 6:30 and 7. I do like to feed them at 6 at night. That way they do have 4 hours to clear their system before they go to bed. And then I feed them after I get them out in the morning about 7:30. And I give them a cup and a half per meal. Now, they both do great in the crate. However, the transition, it often causes them to get a loose stool or to have to go to the bathroom more frequently. So over the next couple days, maybe even weeks, if they start to whine in the middle of the night, I would just take them out with a leash to go to the bathroom and then bring them right back in. It's important that you never allow them just to get out and run around when they whine. Otherwise, they'll start to think that they can get away with whining in the crate, and it's going to give them a free pass to get out. And then you're going to be battling that. Also, I don't know exactly what it is, but most dogs do really well with another dog in the crate without having to get out and have a break. At least my dog does. I have a brand new puppy that the first time I put her in the crate, I put her with another dog, and since then I just always put them together, and I've never had to let her out in the middle of the night. She just holds it all night long. The same has been for them when they were going through, when we first got them, when they were really whining, you have to go out a lot. We put them together, and then we didn't have to let them out. So just a little bit of food for thought there. The other thing that might happen is over the next couple days as they're spending time with you, they're really enjoying it, And so then when you put them up, they immediately start to whine because they want to get out and be around you and your family. In that case, I might give them a bully stick to chew on, or I might put a blanket over the crate, just allow them to really calm down. But they've done great. Like I said, they can do 8 to 10 hours at night, and they can also do up to 4-hour blocks during the day if you need to leave and run errands or something like that. Good boy, huh, Sammy? But now, no. If they do try and mouth on you, that's a great point where he just turned around and put his mouth on my hand. There's a couple things that I'll do. One, like that, I'll just grab his muzzle, or, you know, that way I just grab his bottom jaw, but I'm just going to tell him no and hold it. If he puts my hand in my mouth, I'm going to push it all the way back, just keep forcing it back, so he's more so biting himself, or by him biting, he's causing pain to himself, and I'll just tell him no. And I'm going to turn off a lot of my energy level. If I'm petting him, I'm done petting him for a minute until he stops or he's being better. But like I said, now I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll show you the house training. So I'm going to show you how to transition the bell the same way that I do. And I am going to remove the other bells because by doing so, I get them really excited about ringing the bell. And then I get lots of repetitions in, and so I remove the other ones just so I can talk, so we're not just constantly going outside. But I am just going to show it with Kona because of that reason. Like I said, they get real excited about ringing the bells, and so you're going to do this with both of them, but I'm just going to do it with one just to show you, and I'm actually doing it with Sammy. I apologize for that. But I am going to show you the way that I like to do it. There are multiple ways to do this, and so if you do need any help or need a different way, I will show you. But what I'm going to start out with is, we call it targeting the bell. I want to get him excited about ringing the bell. And so to start, he's just sitting there. I'm just going to hold the bell out in front of him, and I'm going to reward him every time he touches it. Okay. And these bells don't ring real well. The ones that I'll send you will. But I just want him to reach out and touch it. Okay, and you can reward him, or change how loud you want him to ring it by rewarding him when he hits it a little bit harder. Okay. 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 So once he's pretty persistent and reaching out and touching the bells. Okay, good boy. Good boy. I'm going to bring him over and I'm going to do it on the door now. And I'll sit here and stare at him and reward him every time he hits it off the door. And I'm going to just stare at the bells. That way he can kind of read my body language, what I want him to do. And you can't even tap the bells a little bit, just trying to draw his attention. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Okay, good boy. Okay, good boy. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Okay, good boy, Billy. So now I'm going to switch the wording. Okay, outside. Billy. Okay, outside, Billy. So he's getting a little bit excited with his mouth, and so I'm going to keep reminding him gently. No, gently. Good boy. Now I'm going to take him out the next time. Okay, outside. Good boy, good boy. And we're going to take him outside. And I do expect him to wait at the door. Okay. Okay, good boy. Now at your house, I'd turn around and have him ring the bell 3 or 4 more times, go out again, and do that 3 or 4 more times. You want a lot of repetitions. And where Kona seems to really want to do this, I'll let her out and I'll show you that with her, and then we'll keep moving. Nope. Okay. Sammy. Ready? Boy. And so, I'll show you that one more time with Kona. So I just want her to reach out and hit the bells. Okay, gently. Okay. Now I am breaking these treats. Okay. Really small. That way I'm just not overloading them. Okay. So now we'll bring her over to the door. Let her ring it off the door. Okay. Huh? Okay. Okay. She's definitely got a lot more energy. Okay, outside than Sammy this morning. Okay, outside. Okay, outside. Now I'll take her out. Okay. Okay. Now, like I said, at that point, I'd have her ring it a couple more times and then take her out again and do that 3 or 4 more times. You just want to get a lot of repetitions, both of them ringing the bell, that way they're seeing where it's at, as well as taking them out to the bathroom in that area where you want them to go. That way they're, like I said, repetition, seeing the bell, going outside, going to the bathroom, coming back in. It's important that when they ring the bell, you never go outside to play. It's just to go to the bathroom. And I would take them out on a leash the first little while, the first couple months. That way, once again, it's just go to the bathroom, come right back in. At this point, I would then set a timer for 30 minutes. Sammy, it's okay. And every 30 minutes, I'd walk them over, have them ring the bell, go outside, come back in. And for the next day or two, I would keep them on that 30-minute schedule. And then you can gradually increase the time to 45 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. 2 hours is our standard that they're expected to hold themselves without needing a break. I'm going to give Sammy a bully stick real fast so he'll calm down. He won't want to. So gradually increase that time, as well as I would increase the space between you and the bell. Start lengthening that, just staring at the bell so they're, the only attention they're seeing from you is directed towards the bell. Now, if you do have any questions with that, please give me a call. Let's take care of it immediately. And honestly, if you follow these instructions, as tedious as they may be, and it's a little bit of an inconvenience, you won't have any issues. I've had people just follow them to a T, really keep track of the dog, and they never have an accident in their house. But I have had people where they thought, well, I just spent money on a house-trained dog, and so it should have free rein in my house. But that can't happen. It's a new environment. The transition is stressful. They're going to backslide on everything, and it's important for you to be consistent and really help that follow-up. And usually within 2 weeks, they're back to, just doing amazing. And some dogs, especially labs, seem to transition better. They'll pick it up even a little bit quicker. But you have to just be consistent with them, giving them the consistent follow-through that we've done. Now, a couple things that help with the house training. One, you have to give them 100% supervision. That just has to happen. As soon as they leave your site, they could have an accident just like that, and then you're going to have a harder time getting them to follow through with the house training, because now they have a spot in the house that smells like where they want to go to the bathroom. And so 100% supervision has to happen. If you need to block off half of your house, do it. Baby gates are awesome. But 100% supervision by someone responsible has to happen. A couple things to look for. If they get up and start sniffing real heavily or start doing circles, just get them to the door. Also, within an hour of them eating, they're going to have to go to the bathroom, so get them out. And when I say get them out, walk them over to the door, let them ring the bell, go outside. Also, anytime they wake up, if they've been sleeping for an hour or if they've been in the crate for a couple hours, they're going to have to go. Take them over to the bell, have them ring it, go outside. I would also limit their water intake for the next couple weeks because they're already going to have to go to the bathroom more frequently. Might as well not make it worse by pumping them full of water. So I give it to them with the meals and then 3 or 4 times throughout the day. Or if they're outside for a long period of time, then they can have unlimited access to water. But they've been doing great with the house training. And so, once again, let me know if you have any questions. Let's make sure that everything goes smoothly with the transition. But now we're going to talk about the leash training. And I'll talk about it for just a second, and then we'll go outside. So with the leash training, we take them on 2 types of walks. The first one is an off-leash or a long lead walk. Until I'm confident that they are going to return to me every time I call them to come, I'm going to keep them on a long lead. And that long lead can be 10 feet, it can be 50 feet. But that way, if you call them to come, you do have a way to correct them as well as make sure that they follow through. But when I do those types of walks, a lot of times we'll go up into the hills or down by the river or the lake, and I just want them to be a dog. Just release some stress, run around, sniff, swim, do whatever they want. And when I do that, I'll take my bag full of treats, and every minute or 2, I'll call them to come to me, give them a treat, let them go again. So it's really rewarding for them to follow through with the come command. You're really working on that command, as well as it's keeping them close and they're checking in. And I would make sure, like I said, to keep them on a leash until they're really responding to you and to avoid high traffic areas. But once they're doing good, I let them off leash, let them have kind of free rein, but I keep them checking in. The second type of walk is our attention walk, and so that's a basic heel. I want them keeping their attention up on me and avoid pulling on the leash. We do have 2 commands that go along with that. The first is easy, and that's if they start to pull. And I'll accompany that with a leash correction, as well as I'm going to stop moving at that point. And I'll show you that outside. I'll get them to pull and show you the correct response. The second is let's go, just signifying them moving. But we are going to walk outside, and I'm going to show you that walk. I'll show you individually because I do great individually. When you do them together, Kona always thinks that she needs to be in the lead, so she's always trying to get out in front of you and somewhat walk sideways. But I will show you that, and we'll go outside and do that. Let's go. So I do like to start this walk by having him sit, getting her attention on me, and then I'll just tell her, let's go. This is what I want, a nice loose leash. If she gets too far, easy. I expect her to come back to me. Let's go. Let's go. Periodically, I will give her a reward for paying attention. Let's go. And now I'll grab Sammy, and then I'll show you them together. Easy. I'm going to get him to sit, get his attention, his focus. Now let's go. That loose leash. Oh. If he gets in front of me or starts to pull, tell him easy. He's going to come back. Let's go. Now I'll show you together. Good boy. again, I'm going to get their focus. It's a lot more distracting having two of them. And so, let's go. Let's go. It is a little bit harder. Kona, she's on the inside, trying to fight for that attention, always comes in front of me. And so it is nice to have Sammy on the inside. Let's go. Just to wrap it up, if you do have any questions, please give me a call. Make sure that everything goes smoothly. And I'm sure there will be questions. But we look forward to sending these two to you. I think you're really going to enjoy them. I hope you are prepared though for two puppies. That can be a load. And so I hope that hope everything goes well. We really like these two. They really are sweethearts. And have done just phenomenally. But once again, if you do have any questions, let me know. Thank you.